saw a jitterbug happening. Is that? My eyes were not deceiving me. We got something to dance about?
Yeah.
Amen. Woo! Be all that you are. Be the divine. Be spirit. You're free to be it. Are you going to be it?
Yes.
Yeah. I am free. I am free to be the Christ in expression. I am free. I am free to be the Christ in expression. Let's sing that again. I am free. I am free to be the Christ in expression. I am free. I am free to be the Christ in expression. My wisdom lets me know the guidance of my soul. My will sets the way. My heart knows I must take. My heart knows I must take. Oh, I am free. I am free to be the Christ in expression. I am free. I am free to be the Christ in expression. My faith lets me see the Christ I'm free to be. My power chooses thoughts that only raise me up, that only raise me up. Oh, I am free. I am free to be the Christ in expression. I am free. I am free to be the Christ in expression. My power to say no releases what must go. My love sets me free to be the good I seek. I am the good I seek. Oh, I am free. I am free to be the Christ in expression. I am free. I am free to be the Christ in expression.
Will you join me in prayer, please? Loving presence, within and without, we know our oneness with the fullness of God. This morning, we allow and trust that fullness to flow freely through us, to be a divine expression, uniquely me. I open my heart to what Spirit calls me to be, my spirit, my highest soul, living, breathing, creating as me, one with the one. And so it is. Amen. Will you help me speak our invocation? The words are up here on the screen. Together, there is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, the all-loving goodness of God. And so it is. You may be seated.
This is the air I breathe. This is the air I breathe. Your holy presence living in me. This is my daily bread. This is my daily bread. Your very word This is the air I breathe. This is the air I breathe. Your holy presence living in me. This is my daily bread. This is my daily bread. Your very word spoken in me, and I'm breathing in you, and I'm living in you, and I'm breathing in you. Yes. And I'm living in you. This is the air I breathe. This is the air I breathe.
Thank you. How about if we breathe in some of that air? How many of you were here to hear Reverend Greg Coles last week? Or heard him online? Yeah, that was a moment of gratitude for me just to have one of our beloved regional reps come in and speak with us. And I promised you that the week before I started this message series on the kingdom of heaven, we looked at how Jesus described it, very different than what most people see heaven as. And I also promised you that come today, we were going to take a look at what the heaven that we may experience after we leave the body could be like. And if you've done any kind of dreaming on your own, or maybe reading some near-death experiences or some books about what that might be like for us, you probably have heard about how you meet loved ones there, and everything is beautiful. There's colors that you've never seen before, and there's music in the air. And I've even heard that you can create or come upon structures that are literally made out of the vibration of love. I love those stories. And it's similar to Earth in that we can create it to be like Earth. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But today what I wanted to do was bring in a few folks who have experienced the spiritual dimension in unique ways, and I wanted to know what their opinion was of what it will be like when we leave the body. Now, keep in mind that these are all unique opinions, their own point of view. That's why we're talking about it as views of heaven today. It could be anything, let's face it. I can't remember. I'd love to be able to just stand here and tell you exactly what it's like. But my hunch is, even if I'd had a near-death experience, my hunch is my view of it might be different than someone else's who did. And we'll talk about that later. But the first person that I want us to hear from this morning is Jack Wells. And Jack is a member of Unity in Naperville. And yeah. Okay, Jack, they're cheering you on from the congregation here. He and his wife Rose moved up to Michigan in the last few years, and he has the gift of being a spiritual medium. So I thought if anybody had an opportunity to interact with the other side and figure out maybe what it might be like, he might have some information for us. So let's take a listen first to what Jack has to say, and then I'll share some more.
Hi everyone, it's Jack Wells, and it's great to be with you again today. So, being a spiritual medium for many years now, Kitty asked if I would share my understanding and perspective of the other side. There's a lot I could say about the spirit world, but I'll just share a few key things that I've learned along the way. First, it's very clear working with spirit that we are eternal beings of pure consciousness. There's no doubt in my mind. Second, the spirit world is very much alive, loving, and kind, and it's purposeful and has a supportive organizational structure around it. It's much less physical. I've heard spirits describe it as being freer, more of a lighter existence, and I've even heard some describe it as being like on vacation. Once we cross over, we may have an expanded view of some things, but one of the most common misconceptions is that we know everything in heaven. And it's very clear that we never stop learning, whether it's here or on the other side. And that's why, we continue to learn and grow and evolve and move closer to Source. And I believe that's part of the divine plan. Another really important message from the spirit world, that as divine beings, we have free will, both here and above. And I believe that's why, after the many years, 19 years of being a medium, I've never had a spirit come through that tells or dictates a sitter what to do, what they should or shouldn't do. Spirit's much more subtle and skilled about the way they communicate. They often give you an idea or something to reflect on and encourage you to think about maybe a problem in a different way. But in the end, it's going to be your own free will that makes the decision. Lastly, I just want to leave with you a message that comes through often from the other side, and it's to enjoy and savor our life on earth to the fullest, because life here is temporary, is like the blink of an eye. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. So we're going to hear from 3 people today, and I want to make sure that if you'd like to reach out to them, I'm going to give you contact information one way or the other. So Jack's contact info is his email address, jackwells1@gmail.com. So there was some things that he said, one of which, my left brain, one on the Enneagram, just loved to hear about the spiritual dimension being purposeful with a supportive organizational structure. Someone or something to tell me what to do. And one of the sources that I have leaned into in the last few years that have given me ideas about the spiritual dimension is from the author Michael Newton, who wrote a couple of books, Journey of Souls and Destiny of Souls. And he is a psychologist who has worked with clients using hypnosis to help them get over repetitive problems in their life. And he accidentally came into a level of hypnosis that hit a consciousness where they remembered what life was like between lives. So if you're not really into reincarnation, then just think of this as what it would be like when you're on the other side. But the many thousands of clients that he met with, he began to gather what they were saying and finally wrote books 25 years later about what they were sharing. And He talked about a structure. Well, not he, but one of his clients in hypnosis. So I will call them subjects because I'll mention these a few times. His subject said this, that group placements are determined by soul level. So you're put in a group where your consciousness is roughly at the same evolutionary stage as others. Members of the same cluster group are closely united for all eternity. These tightly knit clusters are often composed of like-minded souls with common objectives, which they continually work out with each other. Usually they choose lives together as relatives and close friends during their incarnations on Earth. So I resonated with that because I found my group as soon as I went to seminary. I never felt like I fit in my entire life until I went to seminary, and suddenly I found my cluster. My fellow seminary students, when I came here, I found more of my cluster. I know Kim Char is probably in my cluster. You know, we got together and said, let's go start a church together. I just really feel that strongly. So this is one of the things that you might expect, that you get off the light tunnel and you are drawn to your cluster. Another thing that Jack said was that we have a common misconception that once you leave the body, you know everything. That's a misconception, he says, because we as spirits never stop learning. We never stop growing, whether we're in the body or out of the body, that we continue to learn and grow. And again, from Michael Newton's book, he was interviewing a subject in hypnosis, and this particular subject was talking about the world of knowing, that this is one kind of dimension of spirituality that we can experience. Let's see. He said, have you been to the world of all-knowing? And the subject said, no, I'm not ready. I'm only aware of it as a place we strive for. I hope I'm in the right place. Yes, okay. The doctor says, what do you know about this spiritual area? The subject says, it's a place of contemplation, the ultimate mental world of planning and design. I can tell you little about this sphere except it's the final destination of all thought. The senses of all living things are coordinated there. The doctor says, then the world of all knowing is abstract in the highest form? The subject says, yes, it's about blending content with form, the rational with ideals. It's a dimension where the realization of all our hopes and dreams is possible. The doctor says, well, if you can't go there yet, how come you know about it? And the subject says, we get glimpses as an incentive to encourage us to make that final effort to finish our work and join the masters. That sounds like fun. And I've heard other stories about that seeking to grow closer to source. So we feel it. It's not like we're absent from it at any point, whether we're in the body or out of the body, but we may not be completely one in our consciousness, understanding, knowing all that is yet, and we have this longing to return back into that awareness. So just an idea, take that for what it's worth, but I appreciated what Jack said. Don't get so caught up in your ideas about heaven that you miss out enjoying this life experience here and now, because it's short. We all know that, right? Okay, we're also going to hear from Deborah Yates Davis. Deborah is somebody that I met at one of our not at the fundraiser, but I won a prize at the fundraiser that we had at the gala, 2 or 3, 4 years ago, to have a reading with her. She's an intuitive. She uses tarot cards to do her readings, and I asked her to share what her thoughts or experiences might be of the heavenly dimension. So let's hear from her.
Hi, I'm Debbie Yates Davis, and I've been asked to be one of the presenters talking about what I think happens when we get to the other side. Since I was a little girl, I have known that I'm not going to expire. I have no expiration date, as a friend of mine says, that I would just go on and on and on. I would drop my body, but I would keep going, and I knew that. And so I pulled a couple of tarot cards because I'm a tarot reader, and this helps my team, and you all have a team too, guides, angels, higher self, working with you daily And they work with you even more intensely once you're on the other side. And then all the other people you know and love over there are going to crowd in. So you're going to be surrounded by wise counsel when you get to the other side. And this card talks about belonging and learning and traditions. And that's going to happen. We're going to remember what it's like to really create. It's hard to create here, but over there, not hard. So it's going to be very transformative. I'm having trouble with the light, trying to position this so you can see it. Um, this transformation card talks about realization and life change and liberation. It's liberating to get over there. You were like, oh, thank God, I'm finally home. It's going to be joyous. Our beliefs, however, can affect our experience for a time once we get to the other side. Speaking of which, there's no time over there. But for however long we let them affect us. So work on your beliefs. Believe that good things are going to happen to you when you get home, because they will. They will absolutely happen to you when you get home. Really good things. I believe that we can create an environment we love, and that we can be really, really happy. I believe we can have jobs over there. We can learn new things. If we continue to evolve once we're over there. Some of us may choose to just stay there and not come back into a physical life. Others of us who are stubborn or more determined or have unfinished business or want to learn more in this realm, which is a hard school, I think we'd all agree on that, may choose to come back into another life, right? And we'll just reincarnate. But believe me, getting home is going to be absolutely joyful, really joyful. And it's so beautiful and colorful there. It's amazing. Thank you.
Thanks, Deb. So if you want to reach out to Deb, her phone number is 630-643-4678. Make sure that you mention either Kitty Benson or Unity in Naperville when you leave your message, so she knows how you reached out to her. So both Jack, that we've heard from, and Deb will be involved in our special Next 15 evening come Saturday night. So if you want to hear more from them or about them, make sure and join us. We'll talk more about that later today. So what I loved hearing her say was there's no expiration date to it. She's known this about herself since she was a child. And when she talked about dropping her body, I think of it as like changing clothes. It's just like you're taking off your clothes and you're completely aware from the point of being alive to leaving the body. There's no absence of thought or absence of awareness during the transition period, but it's just a continuation of our life from one body to a spirit. One of the things that she mentioned, Deb just mentioned, was that we all have teams and guides and angels and our higher self to help support us through our life experience here on earth. So that could be you on the other side, helping those still here. And she mentioned how we learn to create again in this heavenly experience. We remember that we have the ability to do that, and it's not as hard as it is here. Now, we do it here quite easily without really thinking about it. It's just we usually create things that we don't want. So the good news is when we get into the spiritual dimension, we remember how easy it is to create, and very much so creating what it is that we want. It's a transformative, uplifting experience to create. Michael Newton talked about how we create some extraordinary things. This was kind of a new idea for me. One of his subjects talked about, as a spirit, coming into the physical dimension to a planet in the universe, a physical universe, to practice physically creating. They choose planets that are somewhat like Earth, but are not yet inhabited by people. And during that time, they practice using physical elements to create physical things, which is, to me, a very fun idea, but it took me a while to let that sink in. Let's hear the story. So while Dr. Newton has someone in the hypnotic state. He said, try to be as clear as possible. What exactly are you doing? And the subject said, we form things. Doctor says, living things? Subject says, oh, I'm not ready for that yet. I experiment with the basic elements, hydrogen, oxygen, to create planetary substance, rocks, air, water, keeping everything small. Doctor says, do you actually create the basic elements of the universe? Subject says, no, I just use the elements available. Doctor says, in what way? Subject says, I take the basic elements and charge them with impulses from my energy, and they can change. Doctor says, change into what? Subject says, I'm good with rocks. Doctor says, how do you form rocks with your energy? Subject says, oh, by learning to heat and cool dust to make it hard. Doctor says, do you make the minerals in the dust? Subject says, they do that for you. The teachers give us that stuff. Gas vapors for water making and so on. Doctor says, I want to understand this clearly. Your work consists of learning to create by causing heat, pressure, and cooling from your energy flow. Subject says, that's about right, by alternating our currents of energy radiation. Again, this was kind of a new idea for me, that we as spiritual beings could be creating parts of our universe. I mean, if you were raised like me in a Christian environment, we were trained that God created the heavens and the earth. And though I kind of left behind the literal translation of God creating this universe in 7 days, I did always imagine that it was God, the absolute divine mind, that was behind the Big Bang and continuing to form that which is in this physical dimension. But I started thinking about how we teach about who we are as spiritual beings. That first, there's the absolute mind of God, the one mind that is all knowledge, all knowing, but there's also an expression of God that starts to become active in this dimension and in the spiritual dimension. The first expression of that, we would say, was the Christ Spirit. So it's God in action or creating as the Christ Spirit. And the Christ Spirit expresses infinitely as you and I. Our spirits are the Christ expressing uniquely as you and I. Well, if that is down the chain from the absolute mind of God, then why wouldn't we, as spiritual beings, be involved in the creative process in this physical dimension? Take a breath. There's really no reason why we as spiritual beings can't be involved as this universe, this physical universe, continues to unfold. And that, we may be working our way up into higher levels of consciousness. So at the beginning, we're just making rocks. So don't, pressure yourself as a spiritual being to be able to form a sun or in a complete universe. But just know that this is the joy of the creative process that we have ahead of us when we leave the body. So, one of the things that Dr. Newton said to that was, I don't see why the Creator needs your help in creating. And the subject says, for our benefit. We participate in these exercises so that when our work is judged to be of quality, hopefully we can make real contributions to life. So imagine that our whole reason for being is to continue to create, to unfold, to evolve, both in the spiritual dimension and spirit as a human being. And it's just an opportunity for us to create in wonderful new ways. There are no limits to who it is and what it is that we end up doing with ourselves. Deborah said that the beliefs that we hold about the spiritual dimension can actually affect our experience there for a time. This is important. And she even finished saying that, let's work on our beliefs about the spiritual dimension before we go, so that we have an experience of good that's happening when we get home. And what I've heard from various stories of near-death experiences is that those who may not have an awareness of a spiritual life, when they leave the body, instead of being greeted by loved ones or finding beautiful colors and songs, they come into this place of darkness. They don't have something preformed in their consciousness straight out of the body about what should happen to them. So they might come into a place of darkness, even an energy of fear, because they don't understand what's happening. But there was one story that was told about a person who had that experience, and even though they may not have lived an adult life connected to the spiritual dimension or thinking about their spiritual life, they may have had a memory in childhood of going to Sunday school and learning about Jesus, or bits and pieces of the Lord's Prayer might come to mind. And when they start thinking about that, even calling on the name Jesus or starting to recite some of the Lord's Prayer, they find themselves being drawn toward light. To ultimately, they are awake and aware of who they really are. So this is kind of why Deborah was trying to get us to just be conscious of the opportunity to create our experience when we get there now. What it is that we want to experience when we leave the body, because everything is responding to our own consciousness. We're attracting it in that way. Something that Esther Hicks has said, she channels a group called Abraham. And she commented on how she's heard many different near-death experiences. As people come back, they're all different. Why are they all different? Why isn't the spiritual dimension the same for everybody? And what she's, actually, that's what Esther would ask, but what Abraham would say to that is that our vibrational frequency is different there than it is here. So if we leave the body temporarily, we've let go of that lower, slower energy, those lower, slower egoic beliefs, and now we're completely in that pure space of spirit. But I actually think that we can affect, again, in the spiritual dimension, what we're seeing based on what we believed when we were here in this dimension, which is why I think you might hear one story of a child having a near-death experience who was raised in a Christian home and regularly went to Sunday school and learned about Jesus or God and went into the spiritual dimension in near-death and came back saying, I sat on God's lap, or Jesus gave me a hug. That's why it is. On the other hand, a doctor, a neurosurgeon by the name of Eben Alexander, wrote a book called Proof of Heaven. He had his own personal near-death experience, and because he wasn't involved in a really Christian lifestyle as a doctor, he was more interested in science, his experience was completely different. Up here on the screen, he said, I never heard Ohm's voice directly, nor saw Ohm's face. It was as if Ohm spoke to me through thoughts that were like wave walls rolling through me, rocking everything around me and showing that there is a deeper fabric of existence, a fabric that all of us are always part of, but which we're generally not conscious of. So, again, each of us may have our own unique experience of the divine. Maybe perhaps as we first get there, it might be one way, and as we're there longer and continue to awaken and remember, it might begin to change. But just know that this is yours to create. Something that Deborah mentioned was that some of us may choose to stay. I interpreted that to mean as we didn't rush off into the spiritual dimension when we first leave the body, that some of us want to hang around for a while. Maybe you want to go to your funeral and see what they say about you. Sometimes spirits want to stay and comfort their loved ones who are going through the grieving process. And something that was said from Michael Newton's book, Journey of Souls, up here on the screen, one of his subjects said, I'm rising up higher, looking back at my body. My wife is sobbing. I'm trying to reach into her mind to tell her everything is all right with me. She is so overcome by grief, I'm not getting through. I want her to know my suffering is gone. I'm free of my body, that I will wait for her. I want her to know that, but she is still not listening to me. And I'm just tying this back to the differences in vibration, that those left here on planet Earth are in their human grief-stricken energy, and it's a slower energy or frequency than our loved ones are now at, and it's difficult to communicate. So just keep that in mind if a loved one leaves you before you leave the earth, that as hard as it may be, if you really want to experience them nearby, the first task is to get into a frequency of love and gratitude and just imagining who they are now and what it is like for them now. I know, having gone through grief myself, that it's hard to get to that place right away. So just give yourself some time with this and know that as you leave the body, you have the opportunity to comfort your loved ones if they will get to that place so that they can connect with you. Our final interview today is with Graham Hall. Some of you have maybe attended some of her discussion groups. She is yay, Graham, okay, yay, Graham! She channels a spiritual group called Her Madden, and she also has written a book about death. It's Odysseys of Love, Death, Dementia, and the Soul. So let's watch her video, and then we'll talk some more.
When we die, the stream of consciousness that is projected into our physical body on earth returns to the non-physical realm, which most people call heaven, our spiritual and vibrational home. Our journeys there are elation, expansion, pure joy, bliss. We have the support of loved ones in non-physical before, during, and after that journey. No one dies alone, even if there are no other physical bodies in the room. There's much more to life than what we see. We immediately release all the resistance we have created on earth, any negative emotions or thoughts or challenges in earthly relationships. We reemerge into a state of pure positive energy, unconditional love, where we become one with our worth. We align with the full expression of who we are. We view everything from a broader, more comprehensive, more knowing and understanding perspective. We retain our personalities, our essence. Our memories are vibrational, not stored in our brains, so we have full access to those. Any dis-ease we experienced on earth is resolved. We are whole and full expressions of well-being. We retain free will and create our lives in the non-physical realm as we do here on earth. Except there, we know our power, so we do it consciously. We use our ability to focus to create our lives. We can be as busy or as mellow as we choose. Our loved ones on earth are our television. We can watch them, check in with them, offer them loving support. Of course, they also have free will, so they can accept it or not. If they are willing, we can continue to communicate with them. And of course, we continue to know them and love them.
Yeah. So to reach Graham, she has a website, hermadden.com, HERMADEN.com. So thanks for that, Graham. One of the things that she talked about was that this is an opportunity for us to release all resistance created on earth, release those negative emotions, thoughts, challenges that we experienced in our relationships, and reemerge into the state of pure positive energy, unconditional love, and become one with our own worth. That is probably one of the biggest things that human beings forget and then remember as we return to the spiritual dimension. And this made me think of Anita Moorjani, who also had a near-death experience and wrote a book, Dying to Be Me. When she left the body, she had a completely new view of herself. Up here on the screen, this is what she came to believe. We already are what we spend our lives trying to attain, but we just don't realize it. On earth, I was completely disconnected from who I was or what I wanted, because everything I did was designed to win approval. Can you relate? The realm I experienced when my body shut down allowed me to see my own magnificence, undistorted by fear. I became aware of the greater power I had access to. I saw myself as a beautiful child of the universe. Just the fact that I existed made me deserving of unconditional love. And Eben Alexander talked about it this way. He said that when he got back, he realized there was 3 key ideas that Spirit shared with him while he was here. Up on the screen, he said he learned you are loved and cherished dearly and forever. Just take that in for a minute. That you have nothing to fear, and there is nothing you can do wrong. Imagine that will be the truth of you as you leave the body, that you are loved and cherished, that you have nothing to fear. There's nothing that you can do wrong. But he would say that out of everything that he experienced in the spiritual dimension, the most important element of it was it's all love. We are loved. It's all love. We have the opportunity to be love. Graham mentioned that we retain our free will, that we create our lives in the non-physical just as we do on earth. But there, in the spiritual dimension, we know our power to create, and we create life consciously instead of accidentally. She mentioned that we use this ability to focus in order to create these spiritual lives, to be as busy or as mellow as we choose. So I actually had an opportunity to have a reading with Jack Wells. After both my mom and dad passed, I took some time to be with him for a little while and just see if they would come through. That's the thing, that just because you sit with a spiritual medium doesn't guarantee that the ones you love are going to come back. But I do believe that that which Jack shared with me was coming from my parents. And one of the questions that I asked was, hey, what are you doing? What's life like on the other side? Well, of course, my mom always wants to talk first. And he said, your mom is showing me that she is somehow working with her hands, like sewing or knitting, but it has a purpose, and it's actually helping people on earth using her hands. And what it's doing is creating a peaceful effect for those on earth. So who knows what that means? But I'm glad she's busy. And of course, she said, and of course, we're looking in on family, which I have no doubt. Something about that being purposeful and helping others on earth. Jack shared with me that he had just had a reading with a family who lost their young adult son. And when they asked what he was doing, he said that he was calming people's energy while they were in emergency rooms in the hospital, that was his job, to calm their energy. And his family said, well, that's interesting, because while he was alive, he was very infatuated with books and stories about being in the emergency room. So it makes me realize that either we get the interest or the desire to create in the physical dimension and then take it with us, or maybe our interest in the physical dimension is actually coming from our life as spirit before we got here, and then we just continue on in different ways. When I asked what my dad was doing, he said that he too is enjoying working with people here. He said, I'm here to inspire them and to encourage them so that they are empowered to do their work here. So we have jobs, as Graham just said, and it's an opportunity for us to do what we have a passion for. And again, continue to interact with this human dimension. Graham said that our loved ones on earth are our television. I love that we watch them, we check in on them, we offer our loving support. And this is something that Esther Hicks, speaking for Abraham, said that we can continue to interact with our loved ones here. As a matter of fact, you are experiencing that right now. That it may not necessarily be a parent or something that's interacting with you, but the source is. We are always one with that presence of God that is seeking to express itself through us, live through us. And every time we're able to be in an energy of joy, that is a frequency that spirit can work with. And so it's an opportunity for both spirit and us to join our thoughts, to meld our thoughts, to have our focus be one and co-create together, that we can take the inspiration that spirit may have for us or not. It's up to us here. But if you're on the other side, you have an opportunity to help guide the human beings here in the creative process. We just need to share the same vibration with one another. I think what we know most on the human plane is that we have these desires to create, but then we sit around worrying that we don't know how to do it or it's never going to happen. On the other hand, our higher self, spirit, the source, is always knowing that it can happen if it's your heart's desire. So it's holding it finished in divine mind, waiting for us to connect at that level of consciousness so that we can finish the job. Something that Esther Hicks says over and over again, from Abraham's point of view, this is the leading edge. This human physical universe is the leading edge of evolution for both spirit and physical. So of course, spirit wants to be involved in the leading edge. It's learning through our experiences, and it's also offering a higher way to do things. But at all times, we're all in this together, continuing to unfold. And the fact that the spirit is involved in this process with us, which will include you when you leave the body, helping those on earth to continue to evolve, we're all moving this leading edge forward in our evolutionary process. And I know that some of you may say this is not happening, but I would agree with what Abraham says, is that is why life in this, at least on this planet, is getting better and better, because spirit and human are working together to open our minds to new ideas and to evolve. How many of you have seen our planet evolve in your lifetime in positive ways? Yeah, it's really easy to pay attention to only what the news says, and that's no way to look for evolution. Like, set that aside and really start to see how human beings have evolved over time. And a good practice to check in on to find out about that is what we call spiral dynamics. Do a study of that for a little bit, and it will show you how human beings have evolved into higher and higher consciousness over time. So let's finish with Esther Hicks. Don't want to make this a long story. Okay, so Esther teaches workshops, and then they wind up on YouTube. And oftentimes they create cartoon characters to depict her. Well, in this particular bit, Esther is speaking to a woman who lost a young adult son and is dealing with her grief, trying to understand how to be better in touch with him. And she shares her own story about having lost her husband. His name is Jerry. And Jerry used to work with her in this process. And suddenly there's a cartoon character on the screen here depicting Jerry. We're hearing Abraham or Esther's voice as both Esther and Jerry in the spiritual dimension before they come here. I think you'll figure it out. I'll stop talking. Let's watch.
You go first. No, I'll go first. No, you go first. Oh, okay, I'll go first. Okay, I'll go first. And then what? I'll go first, and you'll miss me. And I won't be where you look, and you'll hate that. And then it'll become absurd. It'll get so extreme. And then you'll give up. You'll give up what doesn't work. You'll give up the absurdity. And then you'll find a way. And I'll be right there in sync with you. And we'll just pick up right where we left off. Only it'll be way better for you because I'll never be in a bad mood. And I'll never not know the right answer. And I'll always know where you are in relationship to everything that you want. And I'll always be focused within reach of you every single time, no matter what. We'll play games. I'll send you signs. Some of them you'll miss. I'll send them again. Sometimes you'll miss them. I'll send them again. Send them again. I'll send them again until you say, what's going on with the damn dimes? Every time I turn around, there's another dime. Now there's one in my shoe. How did it get there? Every time I turn around, there's another one and another one and another one. Where are they coming from, heaven? Yeah. They're coming as clues, endless clues.
Endless clues from heaven. So that's you. When you leave the body, you'll probably want to offer some clues to your loved ones here on earth. And it's just all about being at the same frequency to be able to receive those clues. So ultimately, as spiritual beings, when we do leave the body, we have an opportunity to stay there and create in wonderful new ways, to rest, I am sure, I am hoping, and also to stay in touch with our loved ones here, to be part of the co-creative process, and for sure, have some fun. So what I'd like to do during our meditation this morning is just remind ourselves how to get to that frequency where we can experience heaven now. Let's take some time in the quiet. Let's take some time to just relax our body. Oftentimes, the tension in the body is causing the frequency that keeps us from experiencing our higher self. So we begin by just scanning from the top of the head to the tips of our toes, sending love to any part of the body that needs it. Imagining divine light flowing freely through the body. Breathe in light. Release any heaviness. Allow your face to relax. Feel your shoulders. Release any tension. Your hands are open. And feel the support of the chair beneath us taking our weight. Our feet are one with Mother Earth. But not only do we allow any stress or heaviness to flow out of our feet into the earth, we gratefully receive the loving support that the earth offers us. We allow our awareness to expand now from the heart outward, beyond the edges of the body, almost as if we are spreading like water. Our awareness exceeds the body. We sense the presence of love all around us. Trusting this love to work all things together for our good. We live in a universe that loves us. As I allow this love to fill my own heart, I am a magnet for my good. As my consciousness expands beyond the structure of this body, I feel my thoughts joined with the mind of God. That my question and the answer happen at once. That my mind is filled with divine ideas. That lead me toward the desires of my heart. I am one with the Creator. Nothing stands in the way of my power to design, to form, to express, to reveal the infinite goodness of God. Heaven is here. Heaven is now. All things are possible, and I am grateful. So it is, and now I allow it to be. Amen. Thanks for indulging me in that playground today. We don't talk about that much here, do we? And next week, I'll finish up this series on heaven, finding out how we can practically apply our heavenly characteristics here and now, how we can bring these divine ideas into expression in our lives. So I hope you'll join me for that. You'll hear some basic unity principles, but you'll also hear some of these fun offerings from the people we've heard from today and from others. So that's next Sunday. Thanks for joining me for that. And this is the time in our service where we experience heaven through giving. This is basically our nature, to give of the Spirit within. And one of the ways we do that is giving of our tithes and love offerings. And if this experience for you today has been one that has supported you, then I'll just invite you to help sustain it through your offerings. If you're watching online, you can give through our Facebook page. There's a donate button, or our website at unityinnaperville.org. Or you can mail a check to our P.O. Box 9733 in Naperville, and the zip is 60567. Folks, you know what to do here in the room as our ushers come forward. But we always start with a blessing, so will you join me in that? The words are here on the screen. Together, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And I am grateful. Thank you. Ushers, will you come, please?
Change the world we see till change begins in you and me. We change the world around us when the change begins within. So let the change begin. Let the change begin. Let the change begin within.
So, Zombie, how is it you were beating Parker? Have you played this before?
No, I didn't. I just learned from Parker.
begin. Let the change begin. Let the change begin within. So let the change begin. Let the change begin. Let the change begin within. Let the change begin. Let the change begin. Let the change begin within. Let the change begin. Let the change begin. Let the change begin. Let the change. Let the change begin. Let the change begin.
Good morning. I'm Diane Pitterly, and I'll share the announcements today. If you're here for the first time, welcome. We're glad that you're here. If you want to learn more about what's happening at Unity, sign up for our weekly e-news or for Kitty's twice-monthly New Thoughts email by going to our homepage at unityinnaperville.org or email admin@unityinnaperville.org. And now for what's happening at Unity. Interested in winning $500 or $1,000? Then buy your raffle tickets now. Available in the front room or online at unityinnaperville.org. Tickets are $25 each or $5 for $100 and save $25. Prizes will be drawn at our Next 15 fundraiser this Saturday, June 25th. Cash, checks, credit, debit, or PayPal are accepted. See more details on our website. Our Board of Trustees are available after the service if you have any questions about the business of Unity. Will the board members please stand? For details or access to all the following events, go to the event calendar at unityinnaperville.org. Join the Monday morning Metaphysics book study group tomorrow, 10:30 to noon on Zoom. Reverend Kitty's 4-week class starts this Tuesday at 7 p.m. online and repeats Wednesday at 10 a.m. here at Unity, using Eric Butterworth's book, In the Flow of Life. Today is the last day to save $20 when you prepay for all 4 classes, or prepay the day before each class to receive a Zoom link. On-site students can pay at the door. Crafters Circle meets here Friday at 6:30 p.m. Please volunteer to help at the Northern Illinois Food Bank on Saturday, July 9th, 9 a.m. to noon. Email admin@unityinnaperville.org by Saturday, July 2nd to sign up. Due to the holiday, the date for our July Grief Support Group will be changed to Monday, July 11th. Prayer chaplains are available to pray with you by phone after the service. Email your name and phone number to prayer@unityinnaperville.org, and a prayer chaplain will call you today by 1 p.m. For details on all of our events, see our event calendar at www.unityinnaperville.org. For questions, email admin@unityinnaperville.org. And now Kitty has an announcement.
Here it is, you guys. It's my last opportunity. Thank you, Diane. This Saturday is our big Next 15 event. Kim Char and I have been working with so many people in the background getting ready for this, so we really, really, really hope that you'll join us for this online. We're going to make it really easy for you. I've been saying to just bring in your favorite beverage on your couch with your favorite credit card, and we'll give you plenty of opportunities to use them. We will have a chance, if you're interested, to, as you donate to Unity in a certain way, you might get a session with Jack Wells, spiritual medium Jack Wells, if you choose. You'll also have a chance to hear Deb Yates. She'll be here in the room. You'll see her online as she actually shares some intuitive information with us about our next 15 years. So it's going to be a really fun event. There's going to be some comedy. There's going to be a lot of heartfelt sharing from people who've been part of our lives over the last 15 years of our anniversary. And also this next 15, the things that we have planned, we're so excited to share with you. So please make time for that, okay? And thank you to all of you who sent in those beautiful testimonies, because, we watched them this week. Cindy was there helping, and it was just touching our hearts. So I'm excited for you guys to hear it. So that will be Saturday night, starting at 7 o'clock Central, if you're watching from someplace else. And just go to our website, unityinnaperville.org, to connect with us online. If you have questions, see me out in the front afterwards. But don't forget that you want to get your raffle tickets. Actually, you can do that up until 8 o'clock that night, if you'd like. But we are offering a lot of fun things for you. There's this new thing that we've decided to offer. It's called an all-access pass. How would you like to be able to access all the classes, all the events, all the special meals and concerts that we host for free until the end of 2023? Well, make a donation. Yes, that's not free, but they're kind of different. We'll tell you more about that on Saturday night. I promise there's going to be some laughter, so please make time for this and really appreciate it. Let's have one more song, yeah? One more song. All right, let's stand as you're able. We'll sing again.
Whether in this physical form or not, God is always our source. That is that which we are. Ready? God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. Love is my source. Love is my power. Love gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Love gives me everything. Oh, joy! Joy is my source. Joy is my power. Joy gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Joy gives me everything I need. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything. Thank you, God. God gives me everything. Yes, everything that I need. Yes. Thank you, Spirit.
Who here in the room is a father? Don, Jeff, who's back there? Ron, right? Pete, Peggy, you being the father today? Okay. Paul, okay, great. So we're wishing you much love on this Father's Day. Yeah, so blessed to have you playing that role in your loved ones' lives. And many of us had the loving presence of a father in our life that you might be thinking of now that's either on the planet or on the other side. So let's just hold them in our hearts today with gratitude. Thanks, Dad, for all you give, even now. We're grateful. Have a beautiful day with your families. And here's our closing affirmation for today. Let's say this together. I can create my heaven just as I create my earth. Let's plan on that, shall we? Just start dreaming now what it'll be like. And hey, you may find out that you can actually create it here on earth too. So let's play, all right? Hey, just one more reminder about the class on Tuesday and Wednesday. If you want to get all 4 classes for a discount, today's the last day to do that. So online at unityinnaperville.org or in the front room. Hope to see you at one of those classes. Love you guys. Have a great week.
I am free. I am free to be the Christ in expression. I am free. I am free to be the Christ in it. Let's sing it again, Kevin. I am free. I am free to be the Christ in expression. I am free. I am free to be the Christ in expression. My wisdom lets me know the guidance of my